My name is Nsuani Baffoe. The best way to think about that is put an I in front of the N. So Nsuani. I run a business called Revitalizing Fitness Inc. And it's a business that works with gyms in the brick and mortar space and works with independent trainers. So I'm actually in our Midtown space at Yonge and Davisville here, Fairs 360, amazing athletic strength performance gym where we have 13 trainers, and all of our trainers are independent freelancers working on their own brands, their own crafts, but we all come under a hub to share best practices together and feed off of each other because we're all on a team at the end of the day, right?
Amazing.
And I'm also,
So is that oh
also
yeah,
a coach.
the
I'm
hustles
also
don't
a coach.
stop. Yes.
Right. I'm also a coach. So I'm on the floor 20 plus hours a week. Actually, this morning I had a virtual class and I also had a in-person group class. So, as much as I love spreadsheets and marketing and hiring and development, which I do, I also just love the art and the science of coaching. So,
Yeah, when I had Josh on yesterday, we were talking about that. Not everyone has both skill sets, and many of us are like warm, fuzzy trainers and then lack the business acumen. And then, I've seen it in big box gyms and places where people are really good at sales, but then sometimes lack some of those skills as a trainer, right? So when you can marry those two in a good way, like that's a talent.
yeah, I'm doing exactly what I want to do, which COVID was a great opportunity for me to move into that. I obviously worked in big box for almost 12 years, and I always kept my foot on the floor. But leading up to COVID and definitely in the start of COVID, I started feeling too disconnected from the service that we're providing. And
Yes.
in times of like disruption and in times of crisis, you don't want to be up making decisions in the clouds. You want to be on the floor. At least I do. So
Hmm.
that was an easy
Right.
decision for me. Got right back on and took more of my hours into coaching.
How was that transition? Like, did you feel like an athlete coming back into in season where like you're gassed after your first 20-hour week?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
At that point, I was doing two 6:30 a.m. sessions a week. So when I was an executive in the corporate fitness world, I still kept two classes that I was doing to keep myself relevant, as I mentioned. But now I went to like 5 days a week at 6 a.m. calls. And
That's tough.
it was definitely humbling again. But then,
Yes.
yeah, like an athlete, I felt it all over again, like just being able to, prep the night before, handle your anxieties. Sometimes you're like, oh, I haven't slept and it's getting a little later, how much time I have left, and learning how to get out
Yes.
of that and get into your recovery. And then it's that feeling, knowing that you're waking up other high performing people and helping them start their day, then it just becomes addictive. And
It
that's
does.
it after
It
that.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that feeling when you started to say that. It's just that same. It just washed over me that sense of like, man, this was tough. How did I do like 8 clients a day, 5 days a week,
Right?
sort of thing, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
But
But I
yeah,
think
you
what that time period made it very easy to connect with my teammates. Um,
yes,
because when everything was up and down and not very clear, if I'm on the floor at 6 a.m., you can do it too. And then if I'm on a Zoom and if I'm doing, 10 clients a day, then we can do it too. Doesn't mean that's where I'm going to end up. I do have other
right.
business responsibilities, but it's good to know every once in a while you can put your shoes on and get in the trenches, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how does that business model work there with that Ferris 360? So like who do you guys collectively own it? Is there one owner and you guys are all like subcontractors? Like what's the business
Yeah,
model there? I'm always curious
yeah,
about different business models.
great question. So I'm an acquisition company. So I buy out existing gyms that have really good reputations and have a lot of the pieces that are already in play. So Ferris has been here since 2012. Great space, great neighborhood, and known for really good coaches. So when I purchased the space, the name Ferris lives on its own. People know the classes. They're intermediate to advanced. They're athletic conditioning, so you have to be able to move in many different planes. You got to be able to have some capacity, whether it's for strength training, mobility, and cardio. So in other words,
Yes.
this place doesn't need to have my name on it. It stands for itself. It speaks for itself. What I really want to do is bring in the next wave of high quality coaches that will change the game 1 year, 2 year, 5 years from now. And I
Yes.
had to look at it like, well, pandemic made everybody their own boss. Do
Yes.
I cram people back under a brand or do I allow them to be themselves? And that's what our model does.
Amazing.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
personal victory lives on personal victory. When you're coaching a class here, you're representing Ferris. And if somebody wants to take on a path of more mindful movement like Pilates, then you're the best person for it versus me trying to scramble and I'm too tight to do
Yes.
Pilates. So
Yeah.
let's put people in front of the best coaches and work together.
That's great. That's such a freeing business model that anyone who comes, I'm not going to knock any big box gym, but like when you come from that big corporate entity perspective, there isn't that room for expression and creativity and ownership in that same way. So this really will appeal to that fitness professional that has an entrepreneurial mindset, but doesn't really want to just take it full out bricks and mortar on their own, like from day
Absolutely.
one, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest piece, the biggest value, at least what my people say, it's just like I can sit beside you and I can be working on programming, you could be working on billing, and I can just talk and say, hey, Martin,
Yes.
I'm having trouble with a client. How did you work through this
Yeah.
scenario? Versus when you're on your own, your trial and error is a great teacher, but if you can limit your errors, why not, right?
Right. Well, and can you speak to the other piece too, which is the intangible, is community, right? Like there's a professional community and a friendship community and stuff that comes out of that too.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge as we start to get back to normal life is how do you recreate the hallway conversations or the
Right.
conversations outside the lines, right? Like, and
Yes.
mind you, I feel like although there's been lots of obstacles in the last 18 months or whatever it's been, a lot of the changes that we need to make and maybe that we're holding on to, we were forced to make. So, like education and learning, there's better ways. It's actually not so bad for me to learn at my own pace from my computer or even do
Right.
this. Like we
Right.
could have probably tried to meet up 100 times in the last 5 years, and we got this done in a short period of time, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. What became better from pandemic is obviously some of the transactional pieces, but then
Yes.
the relationship pieces. Obviously, we couldn't have closeness for a while, and even now, it's weird. I was actually at a wedding last weekend on Saturday, first wedding in a while.
Yes. Yeah.
And these are people I know. These are my buddies, my football buddies. And for the first hour, we're kind of like talking, but kind of feeling weird, awkward pauses. Like
Yeah.
you walk by someone, you're like, and then you kind of just like it's gonna take some time to rebuild our relationship muscles. And I
Yes.
think if you're not even in a place where you can get that, then how can you even start it, right?
Yes.
So biggest intangible here at Ferris 360 and under the RFI brand is that we can talk. I can message you. I can call. I can come get a workout with you. We can go for a run. We might be both doing virtual sessions that are with someone in Australia and someone in downtown Toronto, but I can be close to you and I can chat to you afterwards, right? So,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. So in terms of acquisition space, like how did you come up with that idea to do that? Because that's brilliant. I'm sure that in the Pilates space that would probably help as well. So
Yeah, great questions. So I'm always looking at other businesses to see how we can influence fitness. I think for a long time, because fitness wasn't such a, um, it took us for a while to gain our credibility. So we've missed some of the basic lessons or basic examples that you can pick up from any business that's service based. So I think that
yeah.
was my competitive advantage when I entered the space. Is that I would say, well, how does a contractor book a job for a deck rebuild? And what does his or her presentation look like and
Yeah.
sales process and anything that I can learn from the business I brought in. So when it came to
Yeah.
acquisitions, I looked a lot at restaurants. And
Yes.
I used to think, okay, um, let's use an easy one. Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC are all the same company, the Yum brands. And they sure have probably another 5 or 10. I don't know. I don't know them too well, but I know those three for sure. When they
Sure.
order paper towel, they're not going to make three separate orders, right?
Right. Right.
So why am I ordering, 25 mats and Martin's ordering 25 mats and John's ordering 25? We can get 100 and get a better price and we can share some resources.
Yes.
So I started seeing those pattern recognitions.
Yes.
I'm very competitive. It comes from my days of being a football player and a sprinter. But the best thing about competition is right after we compete, right?
Tight.
We're
Yes.
tight. And that's the only way I
Yeah.
can actually be tight with people. Let me see what you got, right? So
Yes.
I would look at, this gym arguing with that gym and this person arguing with that. And that's cool. I love all that. But then where's the other piece? When do you say, like, okay, how did you kick my butt there? Like, what did you do on that move,
Right.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And then next time I can come back, and that makes us both sharper. So these are all things that I would always examine when I was working in the corporate space. I had lots of responsibility and lots of lessons learned on how to manage teams, how to keep people's independence, but also get repeatable process. And repeatable process, it gives you a predictable outcome that you can actually make some opinions on.
Right.
But at the same time, too, fitness space, everybody wants to be their own person, as they should be. So all that long story, I was just putting this all together and saying, okay, this is something I can do, and I'll look for an opportunity when there's an entry point, a break.
Yes.
I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be COVID, and maybe I could have done without it being COVID, because this is definitely
Right.
a hard break, but it also is like, if you believe in something, when things go bad, there's also opportunity, right? So,
You're right.
yeah, that was the time. Yeah.
Fantastic. Man, for those who don't know, and probably no one watching this knows, but how did we even meet? Even like that. This is
I
like
was hoping
this is
you would
the
ask that question.
this is the craziest piece, right?
All right, so here it is. Here it is. So 2008, no, 2009, I was just getting settled into the fitness industry. I had been working, I just finished being an athlete like maybe a year and a half before. I moved back from the US. I started getting myself grounded in Canada again. I was taking the CanFit certification course. And we were in a gym. We were in somewhere where it was like a back room of a gym.
Yeah.
And you were either working out in the gym or you came to give a testimony. You were there in the space for one of the days. And I had a study partner, and we went over to a Starbucks to sit down, and we're doing some studying. And you came in, and you were like, hey, good to see you. And I remember saying, okay, he's in fitness. He's happy. He's not homeless. Right? He's older. You're older than me, so I think I was like, he's got to be doing something right. He looks great. Okay, I went into the industry confident from my athletic career, but there's also like what everybody says. Oh, you're not going to make any money doing that, and get a real
Right.
job. All that stuff was happening too. So to see another brother again, smiling, good skin, got some money in his pocket, I'm like, okay, it can
It
be
can
done.
be done. Yeah.
Representation really matters. Really, really
Yeah.
matters, especially someone like me, because I
Yes.
can be optimistic, but then sometimes I can be over optimistic, or it can be maybe even convincing myself. So seeing you, that was like the first, like, all right, cool. And then I think since that time, we've been definitely friends on all social platforms. I'm on your mailing list, all stuff like that. So thank you.
Thank you. And that's like I've just watched your rise, man. I've seen even when I'm not following you, I'll be doing something else and I'll see that you're winning some award. I'll see someone praising you for some connection to the way that you've mentored them. Like you have owned this process. So to see you at the start, to see where you are now is fantastic. So even my eyes just like popped in my head when you talked about acquisitions and stuff like that. That's brilliant. And
Thank
when
you.
we can start to figure out the ways that we can have expression, that we can take this one seed, you know what I mean, and then let it grow into what we want to grow into. It's awesome, man. So I couldn't be prouder of you, man. Just in terms of just seeing where you're at and where you're going from this point.
Thank you. Thank you. To God
Awesome,
be the
man.
glory. God be the
Yes.
glory always. But yeah, it's been a ride. It's just been like, am I enjoying every day? Am I helping people? Am I doing the things I want to do? Do I have some money in my pocket? I don't think life's that much more complicated than that. And money can be expressed so many ways because being in this space, you have so many good partnerships and the connections you make and people look out for you. So, I mean,
Yes.
that stuff is just, the awards and stuff are great too, but literally, am I having fun every day? Am I around some really dope, cool people? And am I able to live life the way I want to live it?
Yep.
Yes, yes, and yes. So,
Yes, yes, and yes.
yeah.
This morning I was on the gym floor here at High Octane, and I'm yet to talk.
Andrew.
Andrew, yes, Del Terry.
Andrew, yeah, it's my guy.
Yeah, so I'm about to have a conversation with him. He's been pretty busy all morning. I don't know if he can hear me right now while I'm doing this live, but there was this moment this morning where it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm on the floor with my client. Do you know Ryan Lynn as well?
No, I don't. Oh, wait, wait,
Okay.
wait. The name sounds familiar, but
Yeah, dude, brilliant trainer. There's another trainer, a physiotherapist on the floor, athletic therapist. So there's like four of us in different pockets of the space, and everything's good. And Andrew's nowhere to be found. Like he doesn't come in until later. His space is running itself.
yeah,
He's got this think tank of who I think are like Ryan is probably I think one of the best trainers in the country, in my personal opinion. Just seeing him move and think and train. Mike Dabrowski, like just amazing people. So he has this great community of brilliant people. His space is running. He's nowhere to be found. These people are getting their work in. All these amazing things are happening, and I'm thinking to myself like, this is just a good moment for him as an owner, for me and where I'm in my headspace and in my business, and for all of these other people as well. Like like all of us are doing it. I feel that is so encouraging for those who, whether you're in the Pilates space or in the fitness space, who are just kind of ramping up your business to see where you can
right,
get to with these things. Like it's pretty.
right.
It was a pretty cool moment, man.
Yeah, and I think that's a good expression of how you can grow in the industry. Andrew used to work out when I used to work at Bramley City Center. That's where I started out,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and at the time, all of his friends and all of his buddies were in the club, but I think he was traveling somewhere. And I used to hear of this guy's legend, Andrew Stalteri, Andrew Stalteri. And
Yeah.
then, when he came in, he came back, wherever he came to visit, there's an energy behind him. And he's a great athlete. He'd work out really hard. His training would be great. And then he'd be gone for like 4 months. And then Andrew's back, and it's like you can see there was a vibe and a pace to him. And I know
Yes.
he used that really well with his clients and got his
Yes.
clients great results and great adherence and just great habits learning. And to see he's continuing to expand that, it's just pouring out buckets, right? Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he's a master at building community. Like even from our days working together, like we were colleagues and we were sharing an office when we were both in management, and so just like he'd be there late program design, early designing stuff, all those numbers. But apart from the number side of it, his people just loved him. Like they would like march off a cliff for him. And you
Yep.
see that same sense of community that he's cultivated here. And it's one thing to make a bag of money, but it's another thing to have like just a solid community around you, people that can build you up and make you better every day.
Agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Um, so in the fitness industry, sorry, in the Pilates industry, I always ask people like, how did you find Pilates? So for you, when did you make the decision that this is something that you're going to do?
Good
You
question.
know,
I think I had such a rough transition out of sports that so October 11th, 2000, no, October, my goodness, no, October 15th, 2011.
mm,
No, 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 my fault. 2005, October 11th. I'm jumbling some dates there. That was my last football game. I played a game in upstate New York. I took my last hit, and I broke my fibula and tore ligaments in my ankle. And the physical break wasn't obviously comfortable. I needed a couple surgeries, but as an athlete, a football player, you're used to being hurt anyway. So it wasn't
yes,
necessarily like, okay, this sucks. This hurts on some days. It's not easy to get around. What I didn't prepare for though was like the emotional
yes.
damage,
The
right? And
identity
then
crisis.
the identity, complete loss of identity. Because it kind of like, okay, you know, you're the athlete, and then
Yep.
you're actually the hurt athlete, which in a way is still popular too, right?
Yeah, right. Yes,
Like,
yeah,
hey, when you
yeah.
coming back? And oh, I can't, can't wait to see you back out there. And then all of a sudden, like, life moves on, and it's like now you're just a regular person who, maybe didn't take enough time to foster some of the other pieces of your life because you were too high on the stuff that was serving you at the time. So
Well said.
the the break for me was a chance to rebuild, and it wasn't done on my own. I was terrible. I had a really good athletic therapist, and I had a really good team around me that my school provided for me, and they knew, get this guy in the gym at 6 a.m. And if you don't, he's not going to finish his rehab and he's going to spiral out because I was going into a bad place already. So like some mornings they had to take me out of my house. They'd come to my house, honk the horn, Okay, get in the car. It's your
Yeah.
treatment today. And early on, I was nasty. I was mean. I was angry because I was dealing with my own stuff.
Yes.
Um, but then they just expressed like so much patience and so much, just care for someone that, they were vested in. And
Yes.
as I started to get stronger, swimming in the pool, or walking in the pool, then running in the pool, then eventually putting load and then transferring weight, it's like, oh, you know what? Break or no break, there was probably some stuff in here I wasn't addressing anyway.
Right.
My
Yes.
body's starting to feel better now, and okay, that chapter's closed, and the big neck goes down a bit, and the shoulders start to, atrophy a bit. But then it's like, oh, here's this other stuff that you like to do, like move and run, and you have all this energy. So, that it took a while though. I mean, I paraphrased probably 3 to 4 years.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, but coming out of it, it's like, okay, this is very valuable to other people, just as a human to human type responsibility,
Yes.
let alone a business, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. Thanks for sharing that, man. Because I mean, like, I do identify with that as well. And for some of the athletes that I've had on here, the identity crisis piece, there's that moment that I had in my football days too, where at some point you wake up and you say like, I'm not a football player, I am a man who plays football,
Right. Exactly.
and I'm not doing that
Exactly.
anymore, but I'm still a man.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And like
Yeah.
when you can separate and recognize who you are at your core apart from what you do, then you're on a new path, right?
Agreed. I even think about that now. Like I don't call myself an entrepreneur or business owner. Obviously, those are designations that fit, but I'm just like just figuring it out, and I'm using the tools I have and absorbing the great community that I have around me. And if it happens to check a few boxes, great. But it doesn't have to be one title, one
One
hat. There's too
box.
many
Yeah.
hats. Yeah, one box.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so funny. I do want to go on to like what your kind of message was around save yourself, but when you said hat, that reminded me of my conversation with Andrew when he was on, and we were talking about the fact that, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a personal trainer, and then on a personal level, as a husband, as a dad, we're wearing so many hats that I stopped calling them hats and I started calling them capes. Like I'm wearing this
I
cape
like
and then
that.
that cape. You know what I mean? Because we got to be
I
that
like
for our
that. Yeah.
kids and then for our. So it's just so funny how because we have so many things on that we don't even have time to just live in one area because we have
Yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
we don't have time for
Or
those
one
things.
at a time. It doesn't even
Or one.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, exactly,
I
exactly.
agree.
But what I was saying about, as I ask all of my guests before, full disclosure, or asking like, what's your message for your people? And that gets woven into the conversation. And you simply put, save yourself.
Yeah. Save yourself. Yeah. I mean,
This is unpack that.
so,
Like, what's that mean?
well, it could be, what we're talking about now in terms of the decisions you make in your business or your career or what you want to do. Like, you have to trust that if you have an idea, it came from somewhere. It just didn't, spontaneously come into your brain. It came from either your future self or elements of your life and your environment that's feeding you towards it. Because I do believe at the end of the day, we're purpose led, right? Like passion is
Yes,
important, but we are
yes,
made for a role because we were made to fit a piece that is bigger than us. So,
yes,
you know, this year and a half forced everybody into survival mode, how they eat, how they live, how they love, and how they take care of your body. And I think at this point, I hope at this point, you realize that nobody has the answers.
right.
Like,
Facts.
nobody has the answers. So,
Right.
who does have the answers? Save yourself. But I don't mean like in an egotistical or isolated point of view. Like, trust
Yeah.
some of the intuitions. Reach out to people in your network. Get advice from people who love and know you the best. Yes, do your research. Obviously, look up things. Unfortunately, research nowadays is opinion-based research coming to us on our phones. So, like, don't
Right.
take someone else's opinion that you don't know because they know how to put a message in front of you using analytics. Talk to someone you actually know who can also take that opinion or take that message and cater it to you and the experiences of knowing that person. And I mean,
Yes.
to get really finite, health is one of those deals. And there's so many camps for how we're going to treat ourselves going forward with our reaction to viruses. At the end of the day, you have to be able to look and do some things for yourself.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you're the only person to be responsible for yourself. So whether it's, the pharmaceutical road and making sure that you're taking care of all those boxes that you check off there, great, no problem. But what else can you do, right?
Yes.
Look up really what sunlight does for us. Look up, how to train for cardiovascular fitness. I love that you're in Pilates. And the first time I was actually introduced to, another brother doing Pilates was Jamu Bernard. And
Yes.
he's like,
Yes.
10 years ago, he's like, dude, put the weights down, get in here, get in here, get in here. And I know my body's calling for more of a movement-based practice versus some of the other stuff that I'm comfortable. And
Yes.
that's my point is like, no one's going to make me do that. Unfortunately, if I don't save myself and start moving towards where I need to be, my body's going to tell me. And I don't
Right.
want to take that on. So, I could have said save myself. I could have said listen to myself. I could have said cut the shit. But ultimately, what I'm saying is, now is the time for you to start listening to the cues and the signs that are internal, external, all around you, and start making those moves towards change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. The first thing that popped into my mind when you said that was the image of, the airplane going down. They tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first,
Right.
and then take care of the
Right.
child beside you, sort of thing, right? Like,
Right.
if I don't take care of myself, then I won't have the capacity to help anyone else around me.
Right.
So the
Exactly.
faster we can get out of our mindset that that's selfish to take care of ourselves, but actually it's the best thing we do for those around us, the faster we can get onto the process of one, helping ourselves and of helping others.
Right. It's actually very selfish. I'm glad you said that. And it's a bit of a cop out. It's like I didn't do this because of, my kids. Like I have two kids. My son's 6, my daughter is 22 months, and they're full gas right now.
Yes.
Is this the time to start a business? Is this the time to start a business in pandemic? But I'm not going to project those fears onto them because that's not
Right.
fair and that's going to potentially alter my relationship with them. I'd rather try and fail and take my shots and take my learning than to
Yes.
to sit on the sideline. And that can also, again, it could be something as small as just your daily physical habits. I heard people say gyms are closed. Yes, gyms were closed and it was completely, I don't know if you want to say unconstitutional or illegal or at least immoral to keep people away from an easier form of exercise that they were used to. But
Right.
newsflash, it wasn't the only way.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Go
Yeah.
do something else, man. Right? Go outside, go ride a bike, go stretch, go do something else that you probably weren't doing because we ran to the gyms too much. And I am saying this as a personal trainer whose livelihood depended on and a business owner.
Right.
So I'm
Yes.
not saying that from a privileged position. I'm just saying we gotta keep going. We gotta figure out something and keep marching forward because it's never a static solution.
Right. No, exactly. And whenever people say what you just said a second ago, I don't let it just fly away. You said I'd rather try and fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always circle back to it because that takes so much courage to quote unquote try and fail. People don't want to try because they will fail.
All right. All right.
So
And I think that's just,
what's
yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
no, so I was gonna say, like, for you, like, I don't know, is that just athlete big talk? I mean, like, what is it that allows you to just push through that? I'm gonna try, even though I may fail, I'm just gonna try and fail.
Yeah, for sure, a lot of it is athlete big talk. No two ways about that. I mean, that's literally, I mean, I thought athletes are like the original fake it till you make it, right? Like just
Right, right.
go run the play, go see if you can do it. And it's like, okay. But I think more of it's like how you define failure, right? And again, there's so many opinions and so many sliding scales for almost everything we can discuss. Then how did you really define what a failure is? So if you're able to like take some of the sting off of a failure and make it a
Yes,
learning opportunity or an adventure, well then you do adventures more, right? Like let's
yes,
have some fun. Let's try something. Let's see where it goes.
yep,
And like who doesn't want to do more of that?
right. So
Right.
well said. I'll just let that just like linger out there. That's good stuff, man.
That might be the
That
first time I actually articulated that well. So thank you for, or I feel like it went well. So thank you for yeah giving me a space for that because yeah I'm not into the whole like you know judgment piece in terms of
Mhm.
what people want to do with their lives. We all have different paths and we all have different time periods
Yes,
in that path. But I do think
right.
there's something to be said for us listening to other people and molding our life off of people who are trying and failing as well, and
Yes,
then not giving ourselves the same the same opportunity, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we do that, right? We admire someone who puts their neck on a line and fails epically and then learns from it and gets up again. But then when it comes to us, we're like, I don't know if
You had one shot. Remember when you failed in 1989? Well, don't do that again, right?
right. Yep.
And we're living by like rules of just try and fail. Our whole pandemic response was try and fail, as it should have been. We don't know what's going on. Try this,
Right.
didn't work. Then that's the part that's probably bothered me a bit. Is this position of authority and all knowing and blame that's kind of been going around from our leadership. Whereas
Mhm.
the best thing you could say was, hey, we're trying something. It may not be great. Bear with us. We don't know what the heck's going on. We're trying and
That's
failing.
such a powerful statement that gives grace, but isn't used enough, right?
And then not, and unfortunately not in our leadership positions, which is more reason for the people to be doing it at mass. If we're not going to get it by single heads who, for a reason, aren't able to, lead in a way that's
Yeah.
honorable and ethical and moral, and derive from a higher power, then the people damn should.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah. Good stuff, man.
yeah.
So what do you have going on right now in terms of, do you have like any online like workshops, conference, or anything like that to kind of expand learning opportunities for us as fitness professionals? Like, what do you got going on?
Yeah, that's the greatest. That's like the $1 million question. I keep getting asked that. So I took myself away from that space just for a little while,
Okay.
mostly because I want to be very authentic and I want to be very real time in when I speak to someone. So my team,
Okay.
they get a lot of good feedback. We have weekly meetings, weekly business evaluations, different skill sets, whether it's physical or it's like practical relationship building,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we haven't extended out yet towards the public. So basically, I want to make sure I know what I'm doing in this new world before I tell
Yes.
someone else to do it.
Right. Right.
But in the next few months, we'll be starting to open up workshops, and I don't want to say courses because even that I want to get away from because courses assumes that I'm here, I'm speaking to you. More
Hmm.
just meetups and information exchanges and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Love that.
yeah, the big step was getting our space open, which is now almost 3 weeks, and making it a very comfortable place for trainers and clients. So we're at 1910 Young Street, right at Young and Davisville. Best thing to do is tap in, follow. I always communicate through my email services or my social media, so you know what's going on. But yeah, now is really the time for learning and exchanging information and building up whatever the new models are or new operating systems together.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's, yeah, so well said. I agree with that. That collaborative piece, that, yeah, information exchange, as Brooke is saying,
Great,
is
great
so
word.
key. Um, in the social work space, they're talking a lot about collective interests as opposed to collaboration even. So like when people coming and their collective interests are coming together, it's like, okay, well, how do we merge around this piece? And then how do we merge around this piece? And now how do we grow this angle so that everyone, collectively starts to level up and grow, right? So
Absolutely.
um, yeah, it's good, and that's why I love these core conversations. Like everything you're saying, I keep asking questions about like your model and your viewpoint on things that like I hope that people, some Pilates instructor in the middle of nowhere who's working can hear like you did, from the restaurant industry, how you can get into acquisitions of gyms. They could hear from the fitness industry how they can help their Pilates work, or they could hear from a rehab massage therapist yesterday how they could help with their thing. So like, there's so
Right.
much more that's out there than just the one corner of the world that we're in. And yeah, you're dropping some great truths today, man. Really good stuff.
Thank you. And I actually want to put it out that I'm very interested in having that conversation with anybody in the Pilates space because I don't know the details, obviously, of the service. I know I need it, but I do understand client development and associate development. And that's definitely a space that we want to get into, whether it's treatment through allied professionals like RMTs and chiros or Pilates and yoga. At the end of the day, we're all like fighting and running the same race. The designations of how we do
Yes,
it are, they're important, yes, but, I definitely have some Pilates-based movements in my coaching. Very remedial,
of
but
course.
I need a lot of my clients do Pilates, and I know a lot of people in Pilates strength train. So there really shouldn't be a division, and I'm really looking forward to learning in that space and bringing what little I can offer, but also just absorbing everything I don't know. So, yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Yeah, Brooke said information exchanges. Uh, Tammy is saying great conversation earlier. Scoop Pilates and PT is Philip Griffin, who's a Pilates instructor in the States. Where is he again? If he's still in, just say. But it's funny, with him, he was thinking that he was like the only like black male Pilates instructor who was a personal trainer. And then he found me, and we're just like, hey, like, what I mean? So we've been really working together and like, crafting like online, teaching space and stuff like that. There's a lot of that, collaboration and partnership that's happening. So I'd love to see that going on.
Amazing. Yeah, we need it. We need more of it in the community. Everyone trains like an athlete still, no matter how old they are. It's like, stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff. Awesome, man. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you just like, taking some time out of your busy schedule. I'm so glad that, we could sit down for a real coffee, but this is good. I love it. Yeah.
I'll come and check you guys out very soon.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I need to get on a reformer or wherever you think I should start. I'm definitely I'm like 3 years overdue. I've changed a lot of my strength training to be more agreeable with my body.
Yes.
But it's almost to the point now I almost need to just flip it completely and just be more movement with a little bit of strength and explosiveness.
Yeah, I was on Tom Holland's podcast this morning, and I was sharing how I was challenged when I was doing my apprenticeship to not lift any weights. So for 18 months, they were like, you got to get this Pilates in your body, and your training and your squats and deadlifts are just keeping your strong muscles strong and your weak muscles weak. So look at it from a different perspective and start to get that strength in those weak links. And I hated it. I'm not gonna lie. It took a long time to get out of that heavy training mindset. But over time, I noticed still playing flag football, like faster, quicker, you know what I mean? Like mobility, that rotation was all there. And that kept me going. So it's funny how it does help, and you realize how much of a compliment that Pilates can be to other training modalities, because it's not a silo. It's all fitness. It's all movement. And if for a season you're doing Pilates and less resistance training, then you flip that or integrate it, and then you grab your kettlebells or you get on the TRX or you do like whatever, like all those pieces tied together. So yeah, it depends on the season that your body's in, but I feel like Pilates is for every season.
I gotta come see it. That's simple. You sold me there. That's
done.
It.
There you go.
Done. Yeah, well, thanks for having me, man. It was a great time.
My pleasure. Like you did a great job with your 30-second pitch in terms of who you are, what you do. So I'm just coming fresh off of Tom asking me that. So I think that's why that came out so crispy right there.
I just talk a lot. That's all, man. That's all it is.
Nice. Phil Griffin's comment here. Love to fuse all types of fitness. I strength train, lift heavy weights, plyometrics, box run, of course, Pilates. Yeah, that's it, man. Like,
okay, I'm hitting up Phil too. I gotta get him on there. Yeah, I need to see again. Just like the first time I saw, I just need to see someone else go first that looks like me, cooks like me, knows the same music as me. I'm like, all right, it's safe. I can go that way. So
right.
I'll definitely tap in.
Yeah. You can't say enough for representation. That's it, man. That's exactly why we're here. It's like people need to see that. And I hate, not that I'm just dragging the conversation on, but I hate when people just look at it from the perspective of Pilates is for dancers, Pilates is for women. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm intentionally out here as an athlete or a former athlete or however you want to put it. And, you know what I mean? And in this space, and just so I can draw those people in. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. All good. All right. I will send you the replay of this later. Thank you to everyone who is watching, cheering us on, and we're back at it next week, man.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.